Hi, everyone. It's me, Dr. Stacy Betancourt, with another edition of Making Sense with Dr. Stacy. Now, today I'm going to talk to you about disappointment. And it's kind of a broad term because it can encompass so many different things and affect people in so many different ways. So let's kind of go back a little bit. When we were younger, we truly felt more disappointment than maybe we do now as adults. The difference is our disappointments as a child tended to be less in intensity than some of our disappointments are today. But as a child, we felt them very deeply. For some of us, it could have been crying, it could have been anger, frustration, complete disappointment, and knowing that you're going to, whatever's going to happen, you're going to be disappointed. So, and we've seen it. Some of the kids who want that candy at the check stand in the grocery store, or the child in the toy aisle who wants every toy that's in the toy aisle, and they get upset and they express emotions. But what about as we get older? For some of us, it's asking someone to go out on a date that we really like and they turn us down. That's a huge disappointment, and that's an ego-centered disappointment. So not only did we get a no, but we're feeling it in a much more intensive manner. Still, as we grow older and have different things that occur in our lives, it could be trying to go after that one job that you see yourself as the perfect fit. You go through the interview process, you know that your resume expresses everything that they're looking for. Your cover letter matches, your references are on point, everything is showing that company or that organization that you are the only fit. And they end up not choosing you. That's a big disappointment, because again, it's a more ego-centered, and a lot of disappointments in our lives are an ego-centered situation. Now, is that wrong to feel the disappointment? No, of course not. It's part of who we are. But what makes this different is how long or how deeply do you reflect and carry and hold on to that disappointment, because that can really hurt you in the end. So let's look at the idea of a job and not getting it. Well, the thing is that there are some people that will completely allow that disappointment to hurt them from getting another job somewhere else. And that's the thing, is that how much are we holding on to it in a relationship? If a relationship ends up over time not working out, how do you recover the disappointment you feel with the loss of that relationship? And that kind of disappointment is a little bit ego-centered, but it's also emotionally centered. So it's getting through the disappointments in a constructive manner so that you are able to move on with confidence and not be afraid of going after another job, or going, learning to enjoy someone else's company to the point that you may want to go more, and being okay to make the conversations. So how do you deal with disappointment? And how much time do you allow yourself to mourn the failure in it? Because yes, it is a failure, and it's not necessarily a failure that defines you. In fact, it should never define you. So how do you deal with the disappointment? Look at the situation, analyze it a little bit. Don't overthink it. That sounds easy to say and hard to do, but what you have to do is you have to look at the situation. You have to look at the factors that led to a negative response that eventually led to the disappointment. So, looking at the job situation, you find something that just seems you're perfect. You are perfect. Everything is exactly what the job description is. You have all those skills, you have all the experience, you have everything they're looking for, but they don't choose you. That's disappointing. So, what you want to do is maybe look at, were you truly the fit you thought? Did they find someone else that seemed to click? In job situations, sometimes you can ask the interview panel, can I find out why I didn't make it? And that's hard because that's the ego part. Sometimes we don't want to know what's wrong with us because we all have stuff wrong with us. And that's okay too, because it really does make up who we are, the good, the bad, the uncomfortable, the ugly. It's all us. So sometimes asking those questions. Okay, so what if you don't ask the question? You want to just kind of self-analyze it in order to let it go. Well, you want to look at the idea of how many jobs are out there? How many applicants did they have? And those are questions that you can absolutely ask during the interview. And, do you have any questions? That's one of the things you can always ask. But in that kind of a circumstance, it's realizing that it is not personal. It's not personal. So don't dwell deeply on those situations. Otherwise, they can taint your ability to find something somewhere else. Now, relationships with people. You're in a relationship, it doesn't work out. And to you, you may not see that there's been a problem. And then the person you're with tells you, this isn't working for me. It's disappointing. And it is partially that ego center. But at the same time, there's a huge emotional attachment. So how do you not take that personal? Well, what you have to do is you really have to reflect on yourself and ask yourself, in this relationship, did my partner and I want the same things? And if you can't answer that, then I'm going to put it out there as a suggestion that maybe you weren't in the same place. Maybe you're really ready for a full commitment and they're not. You can't change that. There are some people that value people in their lives, that love the enrichment of being in a relationship, but they also respect and desire their privacy and their time and their space that much more. You can't change that either. That's their, not issue, that's the wrong word, but that's part of who they are. And you can't change that either. What you have to do, and what I'm getting at, and I hope you're starting to see, is that you can't analyze what the other person's thinking. You can ask them, they might give you a truthful answer and they might not. But the key point for you is look at yourself, look at what your values are, look at what your likes and dislikes are. Understand that it's part of who you are. What are your non-negotiables? And if they have other completely contrasting non-negotiables, it's not going to fit. You're not going to fit with them. And there's going to be even bigger disappointment if you try to make it work. Sometimes things are better left apart. So getting through disappointment, it is a little bit of self-reflection. It is applying that self-reflection to the bigger picture, realizing that there's probably things you could not control, and that's okay. Because disappointment comes from a lack of control. It's something that you couldn't fix, it's something you couldn't change. And you know what? That's okay. There are going to be times in our lives where there are things we just can't fix. And that's okay. So when you get those disappointing moments, try not to hold them too deeply. Try not to overanalyze. Please don't overanalyze. Please, please, please don't overanalyze, because really that will end up hurting you in the end. Be willing to let it go. Take the lesson, whatever lesson you gain from it, and then let it go. And what I mean by letting it go is just that. Don't dwell on it any longer. Don't let it consume you. Don't let it change you. Because remember, only you can incite change within yourself. Nobody should ever force you to change, okay? It's got to be something that comes from within. So that's kind of what I'm going with this week. If you have a competing understanding or idea, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Remember that this life, you're going to be met with so many different things, positive, negative, indifferent, crazy, silly, and mean, all of it. All of those emotions do come toward us through other people. Try not to let the negative behaviors get you down, and don't get disappointed for too long. Okay, just use it as a tool, use it as an education, use it to live from and learn from, and not make the same choices or decisions again. And if you need help, let me know. If something doesn't, like I said, if something doesn't sound right, or you're confused, or you need more clarification, send me an email, either through my website or in the comments below. I really want to let you know that I appreciate you. I love doing these videos, and I hope that it's meaningful and helpful to all of you. So for this week, I am Dr. Stacy Betancourt with Making Sense with Dr. Stacy. Be good to yourself, be good to others, and I will see you next week. Take care.